40% of football players are likely to declare bankruptcy within 5 years of retirement. 40%.
All caused by a lack of proper financial structures, as well as exploitation by predatory people, and coupled with a really short time to earn money.
Then, when retirement hits, the money runs out very quickly.
But there are two footballers using two vastly different strategies to prevent this. They're trading their fame for raw corporate equity, and they're building sophisticated family offices. So how are Kylian Mbappe and Jude Bellingham avoiding this retirement curse?
And what is the secret business game they're playing?
In early 2020, a 16-year-old Jude Bellingham was earning just £120 a week as an academy graduate at Birmingham City.
He had made his professional debut as the youngest ever Birmingham City player to do so, putting him firmly in the crosshairs of Borussia Dortmund, the German giant.
A transfer that was about to change his prospects beyond his wildest dreams. That move to Dortmund in 2020 bumped his salary up to a reported £53,784 a week, or £2.7 million a year, and also earned Birmingham a cool $25 million transfer fee.
But he wasn't done yet.
Just 3 years later, Real Madrid paid a staggering €109 million transfer fee and a staggering salary of over €400,000 a week. That scales to over €20 million a year, all before performance add-ons.
These performance add-ons include conditions like winning the La Liga and the Champions League, leading to that number climbing past €30 million on the pitch alone. And this is the backdrop from which Jude Bellingham is building his financial empire. However, the Bellingham family, and this is a trend you'll see with the other football player, Kylian Mbappe, who will be profiling, the massive involvement of family. Anyways, they didn't wait for the Madrid millions to build the legal structure. They incorporated it in February of 2019, all before he had even left England, and before he had even made his debut at Birmingham City.
The wealth vehicle is called Bello & Bello Limited, and that is not the most interesting part. The interesting part is when we take a look at the shareholder structure. Jude does not control his company. His mother, Dennis Bellingham-Waite, holds the absolute majority stake, controlling between 50 and 75% of the corporate voting rights. And Jude holds a minority allocation. Why? Total asset protection. This corporate architecture completely insulates his core wealth from outside liability, bad business deals, and predatory managers trying to coerce him into bad deals, especially from a time when he was still so young.
And this allows him to focus on the football, knowing that his assets are protected.
So while his mother locks down the corporate shell, his father, Mark Bellingham, masterminds the commercial negotiations. And his deal-making skills were particularly important during the Real Madrid negotiation. In particular, Real Madrid's famous 50-50 image rights split.
The club traditionally demands half of their players' football-driven marketing revenue, and the Bellinghams knew that Jude would want to make deals outside of his role as a football player.
So the deal that Mark negotiated with Real Madrid involved carving out a legal boundary separating Jude Bellingham, the football player, and Jude Bellingham, the cultural icon. Also, deals like his partnership with Adidas were exempt from the 50-50 split because they were negotiated before his arrival at Real Madrid.
So now that Jude had this legal structure in place, he was now able to align his deals with more lifestyle brands.
This started in 2023, where he was spotted sitting front row at Pharrell Williams' debut Spring-Summer 2024 men's show for Louis Vuitton, alongside his brother Joe Bellingham. Fast forward to 2024, he was announced as a global brand ambassador and friend of the house for Louis Vuitton under men's creative director Pharrell Williams, kicking off an exclusive and lucrative partnership.
Also, earlier in 2024, he had just signed a deal with Skims as an ambassador and face of their men's underwear line. And the timing of this deal couldn't have been better because he had just won the Champions League and had finished a stellar season at Real Madrid. And so the attention that he had on him was at sky-high levels.
This was followed up by brand partnerships with brands like McDonald's and Lucozade.
Then, going back to football-based deals, his biggest and longest standing deal is his deal with Adidas.
Adidas has been with him since his teenage years at Birmingham, and his current deal generates a reported $5 million annually in base fees, with additional royalties on product sales. He's the face of the Adidas Predator boot, the iconic heritage boot that Adidas relaunched with Bellingham as its centerpiece. Then, In July 2024, Adidas launched the Jude Bellingham collection, a full apparel range including football boots, branded t-shirts, tracksuits, jackets, and more.
So all in all, the strategy is pretty clear. Quality over quantity. He's focused on a small number of strategic brands instead of a scattershot list of regional brands. But that's not all. He's also starting to build towards the next phase of his wealth building journey, and this time he's taking on equity.
In April 2026, Bellingham made his most aggressive wealth play yet. He brought into professional sports.
Not in football, but in cricket.
Bellingham acquired a 1.2% equity stake in the UK's high-profile franchise, the Birmingham Phoenix. He purchased half his stake from the Warwickshire County Cricket Club, and the other half directly from affiliates of Knighthead Capital Management, the exact same investment firm that owns a stake in his boyhood club, Birmingham City FC. So that is the Jude Bellingham model. High-end cross-industry appeal, ironclad family governance,
resulting in a machine that pulls in a reported extra $12.5 million a year off the pitch alone.
Now let's see how Kylian Mbappe is approaching this. Kylian Mbappe's professional career also began at the age of 16, but his rise was much more meteoric, and his pay scale reflects that. During his time at AS Monaco, he was earning 21,731 euros a week, or 1.1 million euros a year. And then everything changed with his blockbuster Paris Saint-Germain move. His salary began at a reported 350,000 euros a week and scaled to a staggering 1.3 million euros a week.
And then, in 2024, he executed his next chess move,
transitioning to Real Madrid on a free transfer. This resulted in his base salary reportedly dropping to around 30 to 35 million euros gross.
And now, his team needed a way to make up for the massive loss in income.
What they did was offset the cut by structuring a massive 100 to 150 million euro signing bonus spread over 5 years.
But there was a much more interesting aspect to this deal, and it relates to his image rights.
If you remember, Real Madrid traditionally does a 50-50 split with players based on their image rights revenue. But Mbappe's team wanted to break this trend, and to do this, they used two main pieces of leverage. Firstly, Real Madrid was getting one of the best players in the world on a free transfer, and secondly, PSG was offering Mbappe a 100% image rights deal had he decided to stay at Paris. And so, in an unprecedented move, Madrid loosened their policy and agreed to an 80-20 image rights deal.
This then naturally leads to his sponsorship deals.
His largest sponsorship deal is with Nike. He signed for Nike when he was just 8 years old, and in 2017, at the age of 18, he signed a landmark 10-year endorsement deal, reportedly worth $167 million total, or approximately $16.7 million a year.
But as the deal is coming to an end, all does not seem to be well between Mbappe and Nike.
There are reports that Mbappe is considering walking away from Nike when his deal expires, and of course, you know what happens when sharks smell blood in the water.
Brands like Adidas and Under Armour have started circling for his signature, and it's anyone's guess where it will go.
Another sponsorship deal is his 2018 Hublot deal, valued at a reported 1 million euro a year baseline. And then, in December of 2021, he was handpicked by the Dior Men's creative director, Kim Jones, to front its high-end tailoring collections in their globally dominant Dior Sauvage fragrance line.
And he was only just getting warmed up.
In January of 2022, he signed a deal with Oakley as the main global symbol for Oakley's futuristic lifestyle sunglasses, as well as stamping his signature on some of the glasses that Oakley releases.
However, endorsements are only part of Mbappe's wealth building strategy. The other part is far more interesting.
This wealth building strategy is all about allocating his capital towards ownership, rather than just being a brand ambassador. And to do this, he uses two vehicles: Interconnected Ventures, his personal holding company, and Coalition Capital, his venture capital and private equity arm, which is a subsidiary of Interconnected Ventures. Interconnected Ventures is a holding company for most of his endorsement portfolio, whilst Coalition Capital is his investment arm for his private equity plays.
But he doesn't do this alone. He is part of a very exceptional team.
Commercial and legal deal making is led by his mother, Faiza Lamari, while day-to-day venture capital operations are run by Coalition Capital CEO Ziad Hamoud, the former global strategy chief at Bain Media Group. The first of his investment plays was an investment in Sorare in 2022. Sorare is a French blockchain-powered fantasy sports platform that creates and trades digital NFT sports cards. And another interesting part about this deal was how instead of pocketing a simple cash salary, his contract legally requires Sorare to fund and support his youth foundation, inspired by IBKM, focusing on providing Web3, digital literacy, and entrepreneurship training to underprivileged communities.
So, his role is not only as global ambassador, but he also has skin in the game.
Then, he followed this deal with a different kind of investment.
And this time around, he was starting a whole company from scratch.
Zebra Valley, Kylian Mbappe's flagship media, entertainment, and content production studio, launched in partnership with Hollywood powerhouse agency WME Studios. Immediately upon launch, the NBA announced a multi-year content creation partnership with Zebra Valley. Under this deal, the studio creates original, lifestyle-driven media content targeted at bridging the gap between global football culture and basketball fans worldwide.
Mbappe is leveraging the attention and reach he has into the field of media.
And this is very similar to another black superstar athlete, LeBron James, who incidentally happens to be a huge inspiration to Mbappe.
Then, in 2024, he returned to his roots and made a very major acquisition.
SM Cannes, a League 3 French football club, acquired from Oaktree Capital Management. He acquired an 80% stake in the club for a reported 15 to 20 million euros, both to clear a significant amount of the club's debts and making him the majority owner.
Now, admittedly, things are not going well for Mbappe in this investment.
When he acquired the club, it was in League 2 and it got relegated the very season he acquired it and is starting to struggle with debts.
As to the question of whether Mbappe will be able to turn it around, only time will tell. But, the play is clear. He spent a large part of his career inside successful clubs. He knows how they are run, and he knows what it takes to build a successful club. So what's left is to invest towards that.
His next investment was into Loewe Technology, a German premium electronics corporation that made a reported 60 million euros plus in yearly revenue at the time of his investment.
He acquired a reported 10% plus stake in the company, and the money he invested is part of the company's strategy to reach revenues of up to 500 million euros a year within the next 5 years, as well as a possible IPO, which could be extremely lucrative for Mbappe.
Then, in March 2025, Mbappe's Coalition Capital joined a consortium of investors, including the French hospitality brand Accor, to take the French SailGP team private. Coalition Capital reportedly acquired a significant portion of the team, and the popularity of SailGP is on a rapid rise, which has led to team valuations also rising. So this is likely to be another shrewd investment from Mbappe.
Then, in March 2026, he made a major move into corporate fintech and health insurance,
deploying capital into the French health tech unicorn Alan during a 100 million euro funding round that valued the company at 5 billion euros. He even integrated himself directly into the app via Alan Play, an interactive step league where users compete directly against his real-life movement data.
So, that's the thing. Kylian Mbappe does not just sign standard brand endorsement deals.
He also treats his personal brand like a venture capital fund, and his weekly wage is just liquid fuel for a much larger machine.
A machine that brings in about $25 million off the pitch alone. So, the lesson I took from this was the absolute importance of leverage. And the leverage that Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe have is the sheer amount of attention they're able to generate as superstar football players. A single Instagram post, a single YouTube video can generate millions of views and millions of impressions. And this kind of reach is what makes their leverage so powerful. So, comment down below what you learned, and don't hesitate to tell us about the next Black Wealth story you'd like us to talk about. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for our next video.